Good afternoon, everyone. Look at your neighbor and say, good afternoon. And welcome to the MLK Poetry Extravaganza. Yes, don't you like that word? Extravaganza. Yes, thank you, drummers. My name is Terry Allen. I'm the Executive Director of the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts. And we have truly had a wonderful performance so far, haven't we, this afternoon? Service. Thank you. Remember, we all can be great because anybody can serve. Speech on service. I wonder, am I providing enough service? I do know that the service that I provide is by the grace of God. And service, for me, is empowering others, sharing my stage with talented sisters and brothers.
Well, I know, Lady Di, that you have served and continue to serve in so many ways, especially with the youth. We are excited to see so many youth here today celebrating and honoring Dr. King.
It's amazing what association will bring. When we empower others, we also empower ourselves. So, what do you think about on service 413?
As a writer, of course, when I think about service, as a writer and lover of language, I must first go to, what the word service means. And the dictionary definition of service is basically work performed with or without compensation. But the man who this event honors, I don't think that he was just about service, he was about selfless service. service being when you do or give all that you have to give without necessarily expecting anything in return. And you may get something in return, but it's not because that's what you were looking for. To be of service in your community and in the world, only 3 things are required. That there be a need, that you be present, and that you be capable of fulfilling that need.
That is awesome, brother. Awesome. It kind of reminds me of my sister sitting to my right here, Miss Diane. When I first heard her on Joy's Poetry Show, giving an interview, she was talking about everything she does in the community and why she does what she does. I was blown away. Sister, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, what you think about service, and what inspires you?
Certainly. You know, I was sitting here listening to the speech and listening to 13, and it reminded me that what my grandmother used to tell me. My grandmother used to tell me that love is an action word. And to me, service is a type of love. It's an action word. It's about doing something meaningful. And so it's with great excitement that I was able to start my own business, if you will, called Kayaning. And the purpose of Kayaning is not just to perform or to write for other people, but it includes being able to use the arts to rally the community together around a particular cause, around a particular social issue, so that when they come to the place to hear the wonderful poetry, they can be provoked and driven to maybe get involved and do something to serve. And so, even with our poetry, we can serve.
You know, when we talk about service, it goes even beyond what we readily think of, because, you know, Dr. King was about service, but Dr. King was a game changer. He understood that we can't let things remain in status quo and think somehow things will get better. It just doesn't even make sense. So when we look around, we have to, number one, understand that we don't need permission from anyone to reach out and improve the situation. When we see a need, that's when we're called to action. Everyone can be self-empowered. And when we understand that and see someone on the street, we know that's our brother, that's our sister. We're called to action. That's not to say that each of us can help every single one, but each of us can do something. So when we talk about service, it could be our family members. We all have those family members that we know they need some help. I'm not just being funny, but they need some help. Are you simply speaking ill of their situation, or are you lending a hand to help their situation? That's what Dr. King calls us to do, because he was following the master plan. We understand each of us can and really must do something in service to others.
That's right.
You know, service is life, and life is love, and we must show love for one another. When we provide service and when we help the children, we're showing love.
That's right.
And we need to do that. We need to place love, justice, and equality in everything that we do, in all of our walks, and make sure that we're doing what Dr. King asked of us, what he directed us to do, and also what our president is asking. He's requesting that of us now, to provide service and love as we go about our day in a daily way. And the world would be such a much better place to live.
Yes,
And
indeed.
Miss Aditi, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so important. I know in my work before, whether I was working with youth at risk or working with families in crisis, or even working with people with mental health needs, whether I was doing it as an artist or doing it as a mental health clinician, it's always been important to reach out to people who otherwise get forgotten.
That's right.
Nobody wants to feel like they have a need and nobody cares. So I can't imagine not living in this world, to live in this world and not be reaching out to do something to make a difference and serve in some way.
Indeed. You know, that really hits home to me, because it's like we think of service and it's so broad. And you think of service in terms of people who have nothing and they need someone to give to them, you know. And when I look about the words of the Messiah, he talks about the least of these. That you who have such great positions of life, you have so much. If you reach into, you're called to serve the least of them, speak for them. That's why I stepped into poetry, because I wanted to be that voice that saw things and said something. Because maybe somebody else couldn't articulate it quite that way. Maybe somebody else didn't have an audience to stop and listen to what they have to say. You know, but for me, service. Initially, when I was a child, service was about the military. Because I'd always hear somebody say, oh, he's in the service. I said, oh, he's in the service. Okay, what's that mean? And then as I got older and I joined the military, I truly understood what that meant from the standpoint that we have men and women who go every day and put their lives on the line, put their lives in harm's way to make sure that we have freedom here, to make sure our country is protected. And being in the military, I remember being in foreign countries, celebrating Thanksgiving at a mess hall, instead of sitting around the table with my family and my friends and laughing and telling stories. And I had to give that up to be of service to my country. You know, and sometimes things like 4th of July, we're in countries where they don't celebrate the 4th of July because it's not their Independence Day. But they give that up. And they come home broken, they come home bruised, they come home hurt. And all because they are giving service. So I know that whenever I see a service person, I give them the utmost respect because I know personally what they go through.
Yes, I just want to add one thing to this conversation. And everyone here truly can be of service to someone. And you don't have to do a major event like this. I mean, we're doing this as a service to our community, yes. But there's small things that you can do. There are things that make a difference. You don't have to think that you have to take on the world. If you just take on one challenge, make one person's life better in some way, maybe even just for one day, we can all do something.
Well, I want to say that with each of the people coming out today, that you've already provided a service just by getting up and choosing to come and be a part of this. Because if you weren't there, there would be no need for us to be here. And it reminds me of my dad. He would tell us, either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So which one do you want to be? So we all need to join in together to make this a better world.
I'd like to speak to the youth I see in the audience, and I want you to think of something different, today. I want you to think of service the way my brother so eloquently explained it. It's about giving of yourself, seeing a need. If you see your little brother or your little sister struggling to put on their shoes, think of it as I'm being of service to them. If you see them struggling with their homework, think of it as I am being of service to them. So this is, by doing this, we're doing the same thing Dr. King did for us. You take a seed and you plant it in the soil. And as you begin to contemplate, well, I'm being of service, I'm being of service, I'm being of service, I'm being of service, what happens is you start to grow forth a fruit. You go forth a fruit that speaks of service. And as you go forth in life, your thoughts will naturally gravitate to being of service. I see an old lady struggling with her bags. Let me be of service. I see someone who can't get to the bus fast enough. Let me be of service. We can change this world, y'all. It's up to us to change this world. And y'all, service is so all-encompassing. We talk about this all day, But how about we be of service and being empowered poets? Can we kind of capsulize what it means to be of service so it gives the folks out there something to take home to remember?
I think that's a great idea. Who wants to kick it off?
Sheer glee I see shine in others' spirits and eyes, knowing that sweet inspiration also is recognized in the dimension of my eyes.
True service is more than charismatic rhetoric. It It is our soul's purpose to manifest a true work ethic. So let's roll up our sleeves and give true service.
Progress toward the common goal. Our strength in concert does provide. Work performed by helping hands when human hearts are organized.
Game changing. That's what Dr. King was about. Fought to give racism a permanent season of drought. Taught that service